What's up, party people? Today I'm doing Total Drama Revenge of the Island, and thank you so much for a lot of views on the Total Drama Action and Total Drama World Tour My Way. So just for that, let's get right into it. So the Total Drama Revenge of the Island season is a whole new cast, but for this one, for mine, I combined the Gen 2 and Gen 1 cast. So there's people on different teams that usually, like, new people. The Killer Bass are Alejandro, Justin, Lindsay, Lightning, Zoe, Bridget, Mike, Heather, Gwen, Harold, Courtney, and Sierra. And the Screaming Gophers are Sadie, Lashana, Katie, Izzy, Joe, Cameron, Scott, Owen, Duncan, Sam, Trent, and Tyler. So let's get right into it. The first episode is everyone is, coming in. They're all introducing themselves. Some people already been here before, and some people are getting flashbacks. Like Gwen is getting flashbacks of losing, and Owen's getting flashbacks of winning. I just switched people, but so it's kind of confusing for some people. But yeah, Heather and Alejandro on the same team. They don't like each other. Gwen and Heather are on the same team, and they don't really like each other. But a lot of people are bonding. Lashana is getting to know Joe, and Lashana and Joe are getting at it immediately. Lashana bonded with her other teammates, but Joe and Lashana are getting at it immediately. Not Jen. I've been playing too much TRD. Gwen and Zoe, they start becoming best friends. Bridget and Courtney start talking again, and all this. Alejandro and Justin start talking because they're both like the hottest people in the show or whatever is what they say. So yeah, let's get right in. They pick their teams. These are the teams that got picked. Now, the first challenge is they have to survive a whole night. Oh, by the way, I'm doing my own challenges. They have to survive a whole night in the forest. So both teams go out and get like materials and stuff, and Alejandro and Justin start talking and making a plan to vote out Heather, and they start an alliance to vote out Heather because of what Heather did to Alejandro in season 3. So that's like a kind of an alliance. And then Bridget, Courtney, Gwen, and Zoe made an alliance just to be like just because they're all friends. And eventually they're gonna add Lindsay's, and they added Lindsay to it. So they're all five are in alliance now. So they probably will vote for like one person, but that's all we know. Katie, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Katie, Sadie, and Sam start talking, and they start an alliance. But anyways, that's all the alliances and stuff. Let's get going. So, Zoe, Gwen, and Courtney go out to find food, while Bridget, Sierra, and Lindsay go make like the campfire, and Mike, Harold, and Lightning make the tent up, while Heather, Justin, and Alejandro just sit there. Joe, Lashana go find food, try to make their relationship better. Tyler and Scott go out to make the campfire, and Scott is gonna try to bully Tyler into voting someone off, so that's gonna start something. Duncan and Trent and Cameron and Izzy are just doing the camp, doing resources that people need. Owen and Sam do the actually finish the tent because Izzy, Cameron, Duncan, and Trent didn't finish it, and Sadie and Katie get lost as to what they do in season 1 from this one. So they're all sleeping during the night, and Joe actually comes over and sabotages the Killer Bass's tent and lights it on fire. So they lose the challenge, and they have to come vote. But they don't know that Joe did this stuff to do that. So Justin and Alejandro voted for Heather. Heather voted for Alejandro. Lightning overheard Justin and Alejandro, so Lightning voted for Alejandro. Mike and Mike and Harold start talking, like as friends, but Mike and Harold both vote for Alejandro because of what Harold did to Lashana. Sierra votes for, what's her name? Sierra votes for Heather. Zoe, Gwen, Courtney, Bridget, and Lindsay all vote for Sierra. So it is 5 against Sierra. 3 against Alejandro. And 3 against Heather. But at the end of the day, Sierra was the one that got voted out here for kind of obsessing over Cody too much. And she was really crying when Cody didn't get put into this cast. So she was just like not on her A game. So they voted her out. This challenge was the sleepathon. So the sleepathon where you have to, the last one to fall asleep wins for their team. So the Screaming Gophers go right away, and since the Killer Bass didn't get that much sleep, a lot of the Killer Bass people fell asleep first. So Harold and Mike and Lightning fell asleep. Heather, Justin, and Alejandro fell asleep. So it's just the alliance of the girls now, and they're staying strong. Joe, Lashana, Trent, Duncan, Scott, and Tyler, they all fall asleep. But Cameron, Izzy, Owen, Sam, Katie, and Sadie are still awake. Eventually, Katie and Sadie fall asleep together. And then Cameron does. So it's just 3 against 5. Eventually, Lindsay falls asleep, and so does Courtney. So it's 3 against 3. Owen finally falls asleep. And so does Bridget. So it's just Zoe, Gwen, Izzy, and Sam. Izzy falls asleep, and Sam falls asleep, while Gwen and Zoe are still standing. So the Killer Bass won that one, and the Screaming Gophers have to go to campfire. So the Screaming Gophers wanted to vote out someone, the first person that fell asleep, but they didn't do that because of what Sadie and Katie did last time, where it happened because they got lost. But in the end of the day, they actually voted out Sam because Sam was also just playing on his video games all the time, was not doing anything in challenges except for staying awake, in that one. This next challenge was a fast challenge. This was the jumping off the cliff one and, doing the pull. So you can see that I'm combining, I'm doing challenges from the actual, show and then, my own. So, Joe, Lashana, Tyler, Scott, Duncan, Trent, they jump. Cameron jumps but gets severely hurt because of how fragile his bones are. Katie and Sadie both don't jump. Izzy and Owen jump. So everyone jumps except for Katie and Sadie. That gives them 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 points. So just like in the origin, Courtney doesn't jump. Heather doesn't jump now because of Lashana's not on her team. Lashana can't throw her over. And neither does Justin because Justin doesn't want to get, hurt or whatever. So that scores them only 6 points. 2, 4, 6, 8. Wait, hold on. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Wait, Justin didn't jump. 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, there's 8. Killer Bass got 8. Screaming Gophers got 9. So the Screaming Gophers got, the barrel carriers things. But since the Killer Bass have some strong people like Zoe, Mike's personalities are coming out, Alejandro, and, Heather and stuff, they all can, carry it. So the Screaming Gophers actually lose, and same as the origin, Katie and Sadie go out into the bushes, and they get poison ivy and whatever, so they're really not focusing on the challenge. The only person that's actually doing good is Izzy, Lashana, Joe, and Duncan. That's really it. Everyone else is not really doing anything. So the Killer Bass make their pool, and they make a great pool. So the Screaming Gophers come to the campfire again, even though they won the whatever. The only people that didn't jump were Katie and Sadie. But the biggest thing was Lashana and Joe's fighting got out of hand. So Lashana told everyone to vote Joe, but Joe told everyone to vote Lashana. So people, Sadie, Katie, Lashana, Izzy, Duncan voted for Joe and Cameron, but Tyler, Scott, Trent, Owen, and Joe voted for Lashana. Well, that's 6 against Joe and 5 against Lashana. So Joe gets out here for being way too bossy and just getting in fight with Lashana every single time that they, have stuff. So it's not a great start for the Screaming Gophers. They have eliminated 2 people already, so yeah. Now this is the one where they get to pick their sides of the bunks. So all the boys are on the one side and all the girls on the other side. Same with this team. There's all the boys are on one side and all the girls are on the other side. So this is the challenge where there's the last leave the bunks challenge. And the Screaming Gophers have a better advantage. Or no, the Killer Bass have a better advantage because they have one more person. So, yeah, let's get right into it. Basically what they do is they can't leave the bunks. But, Owen, he needs his food, so he leaves immediately because he didn't think of grabbing food for the challenge, so he leaves. He gets off his bunk because he needs food. Cameron is forced to get off his bunk because he's still injured, but he still can play, but he's just still injured, so he needs to get his medicine that he didn't think he needed for this challenge, so he's out. Katie and Sadie, they're on the same bunk, so that they both got out at the same time, but they didn't get out yet because Heather actually plotted to, what the heck? No. Wait, hold on, what just happened? Okay, it just restarted it. I don't know why. Anyways, so Heather plotted to get Alejandro off through Alejandro, Justin, and Lightning off their bunks because Heather at the time thought Alejandro, Lightning, and Justin had an alliance, but only Justin and Alejandro had one, so Justin, Alejandro, and Lightning got off, but Owen and Cameron did. Mike's personality was keeping him strongly up, but when Mike tried to sneak over to Zoe's bunk, Mike fell off and Zoe fell down with him, so they both fell down. That's 5 down for Killer Bass and 2 down for Screaming Gophers. So, the Killer Bass are not doing too good, but they have an advantage because they have more people. The Screaming Gophers, it's a couple hours later. Trent, Duncan, Scott got down, because Scott was afraid of sharks, and one of the challenges that you have gotten, there was challenges during this challenge, so like you had to do risky things, and one of them was pet a shark, and Trent and Duncan did it, but Scott didn't, so Scott fell down, Scott got out, and then Duncan got out for one of the challenges, and so did Trent, so yeah. Harold gets out because Harold, his glasses fell off and he can't see with the glasses, and Alejandro accidentally, stepped on his glasses, so broke his glasses, so he had to get down and get in to repair his glasses. Eventually, Sadie and Katie both got out, so it's just 2 in Screaming Gophers now, Izzy and Lashana, and they're both really strong people, so they're good. Lindsay and Bridget both fall down, same with Courtney and Gwen made up from what the Duncan kissing, and so they both don't like Duncan anymore. And Heather's the last one, and Heather falls asleep because of what Alejandro did. Alejandro rigged the challenge to make Heather fall down. So Killer Bass are at the elimination tonight. Even though they had the advantage the entire time with more people, they still got to the campfire. And they actually voted out Owen because he was the first to get out because he needed food, even though he should have brought food for the challenge. So, bye-bye. Or not Owen. Wait, I'm so slow. Owen's not even on their team. They voted out. Lightning, now that Heather thinks Lightning, Alejandro, and Twister are teaming, they decided to make an alliance just so they could get out Heather. So all 3 of them vote for Heather, while Zoe and Mike are kind of, talking, and Mike and Zoe vote for Heather as well, so that's 5 against Heather, but there's still the alliance with the girls. Zoe actually split off from the alliance to have be an alliance with Mike. And that in the near future they will become an alliance again. Lindsay, Courtney, Gwen, and Bridget vote for Alejandro because they saw what Alejandro did to the people's campfire in the first challenge. So, yeah. Harold voted for Alejandro, and so did Heather. But then they figured out that it was actually not them that was eliminating someone. It was actually the Screaming Gophers that were going to eliminate someone because you can see, I don't know if I talked about this, but the Screaming Gophers cheated because Duncan, he cheated to stay. Oh, no, not Duncan. Izzy got helped by Sadie and Katie to stay on. So that was interference, so that was cheating. So the Screaming Gophers went to the thing, and instead of them voting out Izzy, Sadie, or Katie, they voted out Owen because of what I said at the beginning. He got out first. He needed food. He knows he should have brought food. Holy, I'm stuttering a lot this morning. Let's speed up these challenges. The next challenge was a phobia factor. Cameron, he was scared of sharks. Scott was scared of sharks. Tyler, oh my gosh. Tyler was scared of chicken. Trent was scared of mimes. Duncan was scared of those whatever, like plastic things. Sadie was scared of hair. Katie was scared of hair. Izzy was scared of flying. And Lashana was scared of spiders. Cameron and Scott could not do the challenge, so they didn't get a point. Tyler didn't do it. Trent did his challenge. Lashana did not do hers. Duncan did hers, or his. Izzy did. Katie and Sadie did theirs. So that's 5 points for Screaming Gophers, because 4 people didn't do it. Justin, Alejandro, their fear was getting hurt. Lightning's was losing in a challenge. Zoe's was water. Or no, Zoe's was ice, like icicles falling. Mike's was getting trapped in a distortion time. Harold was, actually, I don't remember what Harold's was. Harold was, sleeping in the water. Lindsay's was hair. Courtney's was jello. Gwen was, being buried alive. Bridget was skunks. I'm just going to say Bridget was skunks, and Heather was a bear. Justin and Alejandro didn't do it because they didn't want to get hurt. Lightning could not do it because he kept winning against the challenge component, which was Owen in the eating challenge. Like, I don't know how Lightning won that. Harold did his. Heather did his, or hers. Heather did not do hers. Zoe did hers. Mike did his. Lindsay did hers. Bridget did hers. Gwen did hers. Courtney did not do hers. That was still 5 people doing it on Screaming Gophers and 6 people doing it on Killer Bass. So Screaming Gophers got sent to the thing, and they were either going to vote out Cameron, Scott, or Tyler, because Tyler was scared of chickens, but Cameron and Scott were scared of sharks, so it was kind of a reasonable scare. So they voted out Tyler for being scared of chickens, because like how are you scared of chickens? The first 5 that got eliminated were Sierra, Sam, Joe, Owen, and Tyler. So it's 3 from the first gen and 2 from the second gen. So we're still going. This challenge was the one where you had to make a bike, and if you didn't make the bike, then actually I'm gonna do that challenge later. They were doing a running competition. The first team that has all the people to the finish line first wins. So you already know that Lightning, Justin, Alejandro, Zoe, and Mike start going fast, like immediately, because they don't want to lose. Lindsay and Harold, you know, they went as well, but everyone on the Killer Bass went. This is the one where Cameron could not do it because he was hurt. So the Screaming Gophers knew that, so he was not able to do this challenge. But Izzy, Duncan, Trent, everyone did it, and Shauna got there first, then Trent, then Duncan, then Izzy and Sadie and Katie. Scott has not made it yet. Harold, Lindsay, Bridget, Gwen, Courtney, Zoe, Heather, and Lightning made it. So the Screaming Gophers actually won because they had everyone go there first. Except for Cameron, but they knew Cameron could not go. So they voted out. It was either Lightning. Well, they could vote out anyone. Since Lindsay, Bridget, Gwen, Zoe's in the alliance again. Courtney, and they added Mike to the alliance because Mike and Zoe are talking. Mike and Zoe are close to be dating, so they're all in an alliance. They all voted for Lightning because Heather told them about the alliance with Lightning. Alejandro and Justin. Heather also voted for Lightning, but Lightning, Alejandro, and Justin voted for Bridget, and Harold voted for Lightning. So that was still 8 against Lightning and only 3 against Bridget. So Lightning got out here. That's kind of sad though. The next challenge actually was a challenge that made one person from the Killer Bass team go over to the Screaming Gophers. It was an even amount of team of 3, 6, 9. It was 3, 6. It would be 3, 6, 9. It would be 10 on each team, not just 9. It wouldn't be 3, 6. It wouldn't be 8 and 10. It would be 9, 9 actually. So the Killer Bass had one person to do. They voted one person to go over. Lindsay, Bridget, Gwen, Zoe, Mike, and Courtney all voted for Heather to go over to that team because they wanted Heather to stay safe. But Justin voted for Alejandro, and Alejandro voted for himself. Heather voted for Courtney. Harold voted for Courtney. And it was Heather that went over because, they wanted Heather to stay safe. And Heather was the only actually good option except for Courtney. So, and they didn't want to split up the alliance in the season. So, they just kept them all together. This could be a long one. So they all greet Heather. Heather and LaShawna still have beef, and so does Izzy, Katie, and Sadie, because at this time, Izzy, Katie, and Sadie had an alliance with LaShawna and Izzy. But during this challenge, Katie and Sadie's alliance would split, so it would be Katie and Sadie, and would split off to LaShawna and Izzy. So that's a big factor. But anyways, the Killer Bass are really distracted because they just lost one of their good players, so they're really not doing well. This one was an obstacle course challenge. Justin and Alejandro had to jump off the cliff again. Courtney had to do this jumping course. Harold had to do this monkey bars one. Mike had to get hit by these punching bags. Zoe had to do a flying one. Lindsay had to do a skiing one, and Gwen and Bridget had to pick up flags and same places. So Alejandro and Justin didn't do it because they didn't want to get hurt, so they didn't do that. So they didn't get them a point. Courtney, Harold, Mike, and Zoe did it. Lindsay didn't do it. Lindsay fell or whatever. I forgot what Lindsay did. No. Lindsay actually did really good in the skiing and got them a point. Bridget didn't do it, and Gwen didn't do that. So it was only 5 points for Killer Bass. Heather didn't do it. Katie and Sadie did it. Gwen and LaShawna did it. Oh my gosh. Izzy and LaShawna did it. Trent did it. Duncan did it. Scott did it. Heather didn't do it, neither did Cameron. Cameron is still injured, but Cameron actually at the end of the episode he's now good again. So the Killer Bass have to vote someone off, and they still have an alliance. So they finally voted off Justin after this. Now this is the one where the teams got told of a double elimination. This one was the first person to cook a fabulous meal wins. Or the first team to. See, Killer Bass, they weren't really good with cooking, but Bridget is, so, they kind of kind of did good. Bridget made a lot of the food, and Bridget actually got them at least 5 points for the food. This round's gonna be fast. Killer Bass won. Screaming Gophers lost. They voted out 2 people. See, Lashana and Izzy told Heather and Duncan about Sadie and Katie teaming, and they wanted to get them out because they were really bad. So these 4 voted for Katie and Sadie. But Katie and Sadie voted for Lashana. Trent and Cameron both voted for Katie and Sadie, and Scott voted for Lashana. That was 3 against Lashana, and that was 6 against Katie and Sadie. Well, it was Katie and Sadie. So, yeah, they both got voted out there. We're getting close to merge at 12 people. So, 3, 6, 7, 8. So, yeah, this is going to go fast. So, Alejandro, Bridget really never liked Alejandro because of what Alejandro did to Bridget. So, Bridget told that to the Alliance team, and they wanted to vote out Alejandro if they lose the challenge. So, Bridget was like, how about we purposely lose the challenge so we can vote out Alejandro, because Alejandro's a big threat. But Screaming Gophers also had a big threat, and that was Heather and Lashana, because Lashana was final, I think 5, and Heather was final 3 in the first season, and Heather won the 3rd season. So, and Duncan's also a big threat because he was final 4. So, Heather and Duncan are still in alliance, and Lashana and Izzy are still in alliance. And they're going to plan out to vote out Cameron because he was injured for most of the time, and that's why they kept losing challenges. So they said they're going to purposely lose the challenge as well so they could vote out Cameron. But Trent and Scott overheard this, and they didn't really like how they wanted to overthrow challenges. So Trent and Scott tried their best to do this, but this challenge was a chore challenge to clean up the cabin the best. And since Killer Bass, that alliance was not doing anything. Harold and Justin were doing stuff, though. But then at the end, Courtney, Zoe, and Gwen were like, we're going to start doing stuff to get points because we wanted to win. So that got them 5 points. But since the Screaming Gophers didn't do anything, those 4 people didn't do anything, and Cameron didn't do anything. Cameron did something. So that was 5 points. Hold on. No, Gwen and Courtney didn't do anything, so it was only Alejandro and Harold that did stuff. But Trent, Scott, and Cameron did, so the Screaming Gophers won. Lashana, Izzy, Duncan, and Heather were kind of angry. But the Killer Bass did vote out Alejandro. But Alejandro voted for Harold, and Harold voted for Alejandro. But then they found out Alejandro had the safety statue that he found when he was doing the challenges in the mud for the obstacle course challenge. So the person with the second amount of votes got voted out, and Harold got voted out, which Lashana was devastated. So Lashana was planning to get Alejandro back after what he did. So this next one's going to go by fast. I'm not going to do the teams because I'm sorry that I'm kind of rushing these, but this is already 30 minutes, so it's kind of fast already. The Killer Bass voted out. They voted out. Alejandro used his gimmicks to make Courtney, Gwen, and Lindsay vote for Mike, and so that was also Alejandro, Courtney, Gwen, and Lindsay against Mike, and Mike, Zoe, and Bridget both voted for Alejandro. So Mike got out there. And on the Screaming Gophers, they voted out Cameron in 13th place because of Cameron losing challenges. Now it is merge time. So the merge had 12 people. And I'll be right back for part 2. Okay, this is part 2. So we're back with the Revenge of the Island cast, and they got to celebrate because they made it to merge. Now, everyone except for the only Revenge of the Island cast members that are left are Zoe and Scott, which is not really good because Zoe and Scott really both they're really good, But the biggest plot twist of ever comes in, and Chris was like, Cameron is back in the game because he got voted out because he was losing challenges because he was hurt, and Screaming Gophers knew this. So they actually picked Alejandro to go home and actually made it so Cameron came back in, so that means that there's 3 now, just so that could be 3 out of the 9 of the original. So yeah, there's still a girl alliance with Courtney, Bridget, Zoe, Gwen, Lindsay, but now it is Izzy and Lashana's in there now, and then Scott, Cameron, Duncan, Trent made an alliance, like a boys alliance, and they added Heather. So there's 2 alliances, a 5-person alliance and a 7-person alliance. This challenge was you have to have an animal, and if you got a key, you unlock a chest, and the person that got the immunity in the chest, they wins. At this time, Trent and Gwen, they kissed, and Heather saw it. So Heather actually Heather kissed Trent in front of Gwen, which made Gwen heartbreak, and Gwen told Lashana, and Lashana told everyone to vote Heather. But in this one, vote Heather, and if Heather got the marshmallow, Trent would do it. So Trent or Lindsay, or oh my gosh, Lashana got the marshmallow. So they all voted for all the girls voted for. So Bridget, Zoe, Courtney, Gwen, Lindsay, Izzy. Bridget, Zoe, Courtney, Gwen, Lindsay, Izzy, Lashana, and Trent voted for Heather, but Heather, Duncan, Cameron, and Scott voted for Izzy. So Heather got out there because of what she did to kiss Trent. So that was her, kind of being evil. So they voted Heather out there. Now here's where the eliminated cast votes someone off. Now, Sierra, Sam, Joe, and Owen, and Tyler vote for Trent to go home. But Lightning, Justin, Katie, Sadie, and Harold voted for Duncan to go home. Mike voted for Trent. Alejandro and Heather voted for Trent to go home because, but Gwen was devastated. So Gwen was going to get back on these people because they knew they voted out Trent, and they knew Heather and Alejandro voted for Trent. So they voted out Trent there. Trent got voted out there. Now they're in the final 10. 3, 6, 9, 10. Yeah, they're in the final 10. And so there's still 3 of the Revenge of the Island cast and only 7 of the original cast. So, yeah. These people... Oh, by the way, Chris made a statement and said if there's any alliances, you guys will be broken up immediately or you guys will get voted out. Duncan was like, no, I'm not going to get voted out because that stupid thing. So Duncan and Scott still allianced, and the girls broke up their alliance, but they're still really good friends. So the challenge was to they went to Boney Island. They had to pick up a statue, like a item. They all had to pick up like a key, and they had to bring it back to Chris. The first one to bring back the key wins. Scott and Duncan were working together, and they were finding each other's keys. They all the keys had names on it, by the way. Izzy. So when they went to Boney Island in season 1, Izzy made that big fire. So Izzy made the fire, what he needs to do, and then she started going. Izzy made it, and as Chris said, if there's any alliances, he'll be voted out immediately. And Chris had overheard Duncan and Scott still alliancing, so they voted out Duncan and Scott, which left it. There's 3, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 people now because they knew that they were going to get voted out because of what Chris said. Now, at this point, Zoe found out about Bridget, Courtney, and Gwen voting for Mike. So she voted for, by the way, the challenges are just going to go by. I'm not going to say the challenges anymore. Lindsay got the marshmallow. So Zoe voted for Courtney, and Cameron overheard Zoe voting for Courtney. So Cameron also voted for Courtney, but Lindsay, Courtney, and Gwen voted for and Lindsay voted for Izzy because Izzy was really good, and Lashana voted for Zoe. So Izzy gets eliminated there because she was really good. I need to get this done. This is like really long. So Zoe got the marshmallow there. Gwen, Lindsay, and Courtney and Bridget both voted for, they all voted for Lashana. They didn't want to, but Lashana voted herself because she didn't want to be on the island anymore. But Zoe and Cameron voted for Lashana, which Lashana got out there, which I'm really sad that Lashana had to go like that, but she didn't want to be on the island anymore, and she has been in the final 3, or at least the final 5, in all 3 of the seasons. So, yeah. Bridget got the marshmallow there, and Courtney and Gwen, they started an alliance again, and they voted out. They both voted for Lindsay, but as Chris said, if there's any alliances, you'll be cut off the show. So Gwen, Courtney, and Lindsay all got cut off the show because of their alliance, even though Chris said no alliances. Zoe voted for Cameron. Bridget voted for Cameron because Bridget won. And now the cast gets to pick who wins. 1 for Bridget. Sierra voted for Bridget. Sam voted for Zoe. Joe voted for Zoe. Owen voted for Bridget. Tyler voted for Bridget. Lightning voted for Zoe. Justin and Katie and Sadie voted for Zoe. Harold, Mike voted for Zoe. Harold, Justin, Alejandro, Heather, and Trent voted for Bridget. Duncan voted for Bridget. Scott voted for Zoe. Izzy, Lashana voted for Zoe. Gwen, Courtney, Lindsay, and Cameron voted for Bridget. So Zoe got second, and Bridget won. Which, I mean, at this point, Bridget should have won one of these because Bridget's really good. So this is how I did Total Drama Revenge of the Island. I'll be doing All-Stars sometime this week or maybe next week. Please have a nice day. Please like and subscribe. Don't let anyone bully you or bring you down. Bye.